privilege and a pleasure to have Madonna from Neeley Therapies in the studio each Friday afternoon. And good day, Donna. And
How are you?
I'm well, and welcome this Friday.
Thank you.
How's your week been?
Oh, it's been busy. Actually, I pinched a nerve in my wrist the other day, so I've sort of been, anyway, I've had a couple of treatments and it's great. The other night I couldn't turn it, anyway, just one of those things.
All right. Well, you fixed yourself, positioned
Yeah, well, it is interesting. I sort of, because a few years ago, everyone probably remembers, but I had what do you call it? Frozen shoulder.
Yeah.
And I went and I must have some inflammatory condition in my body, which is sort of why I thought today, because my first client this morning is a guy in chronic pain. Right. So I thought I'd talk maybe today about the drivers of chronic pain. So people who just seem not to be able to get it under control. And because I was chatting to my brother Jimmy, who's a doctor, and he's going to get a whole bunch of blood tests for me. And as you know, I'm terrified of needles, so I'm going to psych myself up and just do it and actually have a look at things like autoimmune stuff, see if there's any rheumatoid factor or lupus antibodies or anything like that. And because it'll be the first blood test I've had in 25 years by doctors.
Well, one of the things I suggest to a lot of people, when you're going to go to like the dentist or have a needle, and if you got that adversity, I say take a picture of your favourite thing and hold it up in front of you when they're going to give you the injection. And
then it'll be okay. Yeah, okay. I'll do something, Maybe it'll be a bit of brandy or something.
Well, you could just faint too, or something.
Yeah. So I thought I'd talk about the drivers of chronic pain and sort of what we do. We haven't talked about that for a little while, have we?
No.
So because there are lots of things that drive chronic pain, and I suppose a lot of people come in and if they've had, say, Ross River virus or Q fever or something like that, and they know that they've got fibromyalgia or chronic joint pain since a virus or a bacteria or a parasite, then you know you have to go in there and work on their immune system to really help to boost it and to kill off those things that are going on in their body. Because many of the medications are about suppressing so with an autoimmune disease, if someone's got something like that, like rheumatoid arthritis or flare-ups of lupus or things where there's an overactive immune system, what it means is that the white blood cells are destroying some of the tissue in your body.
Right.
So it's attacking the joints, the immune system, or the immune system is attacking the muscles or attacking the ligaments and tendons.
That's naughty.
It is naughty, which is why medically they use steroids. So steroids shut down the immune system. So it's basically, putting the immune system in the naughty corner. So, sometimes you have to do these things. So
I'm quite diverse with it.
So it's sort of, so from our perspective, we do similar things, but we use supplements that also help to boost the immune system. So naturopathically, we sort of look at things like diet. So with this guy this morning, I was using kinesiology to muscle test what the major drivers are from the food perspective. And because his poor little gut is so raw at the moment, so by raw I mean he's getting a lot of bloating, he's getting a lot of diarrhea, he's getting a lot of pain in the tummy, he gets that urgent, I've got to go to the loo right now, get out of my way sort of thing.
Yeah, right.
So, and you can imagine by the time the gut is so irritated, that the gut being irritated can drive chronic pain in the body. So it can actually make everything worse.
Right.
And part of the reason for that is that the gut lining is made of lots of nutrients. It's made of vitamin A, it's vitamin D, it's glutamine, it's amino acids. So therefore, if we don't get those nutrients into the body, then your body has no choice but to steal those nutrients from other areas of your body.
Yeah.
So if you have a gut that's playing up and all of a sudden your eyes start playing up, it can be because your body is stealing vitamin A from your eye tissue to put it into the gut to help to heal the gut that's really raw. Or you might feel muscle weakness, which means your body is grabbing amino acids like glutamine from your muscles to put them into the gut to help to heal the gut.
Can I just take you back to that eye thing? What do you said about the eyes and the gut taking vitamin A from your eyes? What sort of things would you feel in your eyes at that time?
Oh, they might just get tired more easily, or all of a sudden you're going, are my glasses working properly? Or, it's where, or all of a sudden you're starting to read and going, hang on, I could have read that yesterday, what's going on? So we start seeing these little things that we don't connect to the gut because why, most people are going to think, well, why would the gut affect the eyes?
Well, it is greedy, isn't it?
But, people who are pregnant sort of know these things or who have been through pregnancy, because they know that things like, a lot of pregnant women may have experienced that their teeth get a bit wobbly because the baby's stealing all the best nutrients from our body if we're not putting the nutrients in there.
Well, maybe men should get pregnant occasionally.
just to remind themselves to pay attention and look after themselves. And vitamin D. Vitamin D is a bit of a trickier one because the elasticity in the gut wall is mainly vitamin A and D and E and things like that. So vitamin D is a bit trickier because it's, of course, where we get from the sunshine, and you need about 20 minutes of nice sunshine morning and night with the least amount of clothes possible to get your vitamin D. If you go out in hats and sunnies and long sleeves, you're not getting any vitamin D when you're outside.
Yeah, my neighbours told me to go back inside when they have the least amount of clothes on.
Yeah, well, you don't want to be mowing the lawn in jocks like some people do, but well, maybe in summer if they're good looking. But anyway, no, that's not it. But so vitamin D is really important because it's very much, and same with vitamin A, very much to do with the elasticity. So the gut is supposed to be quite elastic. It's supposed to be able to open and close with the cells all day long. I think we've chatted about that before. So when we are in chronic gut pain, for example, lots of other similar associated things can be going on around the body, but of course the doctors aren't trained to really look at those as a group of things and to put it together. Whereas naturopathically, it is much more under our umbrella of knowledge because we're sort of trained to look for those things because we think nutritionally. So therefore, if someone comes in and that we see the list of medication they're on and then the list of symptoms, sometimes we can also go, oh, right, really, you're feeling this and this and this. That could be because of, this medication. Go back to your doctor and have a chat about it. Yeah. And doctors love it when we do that. So food is one driver of chronic pain. So if people are having things, way too much, alcohol or sugar or grains or, things that are acid forming in the body, sometimes they can be really good foods that are creating issues, but that person individually has an intolerance. So when Georgia and I are there's a few ways that we do this in the clinic. We've got a food detective kit. It's a more expensive way to do it, bizarrely enough, but that shows us an IgE response. So it's an intolerance response to 59 really major food groups. So therefore, we get pretty much an immediate response as to whether or not someone is having an inflammatory reaction to certain foods. So some people really like that because it's a medically based kit. It takes 40 minutes to do it, so we always book a consultation plus the kit at the same time because, well, that's what we need to do. And then the other way of doing it is with kinesiology with Georgia or I. And the thing is, and I've chatted about this before, but it's never as simple as it seems. Yeah. How only about 3% of Australians are celiac disease. So many people, and doctors get really cranky when people go off gluten without being a celiac. It's one of these big divides between the medical profession and naturopaths. But if people take themselves off wheat and their bloating goes down and their weight starts coming off and they feel less irritated in the bowels and they're getting less diarrhea, constipation, obviously there was an issue regardless of whether they're celiac or not.
Yeah.
So, but, then you think, okay, well, what is it? What is it in that grain? So, and it can be any grains actually, not just wheat, but grains are often genetically modified. They often have lots of pesticides in. There's these things called lectins in them, which are a natural pesticide that have been GMO'd to have a lot more, that destroys the villi in the intestines. It means we release a lot less enzymes. In a lot of grains as well, there's these things called FODMAPs, which basically feed bad bacteria in the gut, and bad bacteria in the gut creates these things called lipopolysaccharides, which are very inflammatory. So, so is it the gluten? Is it the pesticides in the gluten? Is it the gliadin, which is another amino acid that's in the wheat? Is it the FODMAPs in the wheat? So it's never as simple as it sounds. Yeah. Is it an enzyme deficiency in the stomach that's stopping us from breaking down the protein in the wheat? Is it the pancreatic enzymes that are stopping us from breaking it down? Is it stress? So that's where with kinesiology we can really start to nut that sort of thing out. So kinesiology uses muscle testing to find out what's going on in the body. So you can test for, say, stomach energy or pancreatic energy or large intestine, small intestine, liver, gallbladder. You can test for the energy of specific organs in relation to specific foods. So if someone suspects something, like this guy this morning, they've basically been doing a low FODMAP diet. So FODMAPs are foods that ferment in the intestines and cause bloating, burping, belching, irritable bowel, sort of a lot of bowel issues. So, and also inflammation, and feeds things like candida and fungus and bacterial overgrowth in the gut. So FODMAPs are something that dietitians have been using for about 15 years to really help people out as well. So it's a well-known thing. They've been on a low FODMAP diet and a low nightshade diet. Do you know about the nightshade family? So nightshades are inflammatory foods as well. And the core nightshade things that people have probably heard about are things like potatoes, tobaccos, capsicum, eggplants, I said tomatoes, that sort of thing. But they're basically the nightshade family. And when someone's inflamed, those things are inflammatory foods. Okay. But it's not everyone, So it's one of these things that because Georgia and I can muscle test, we can sort of really work out for that person what's going on with their diet and which things are inflammatory for them at that time. But if someone comes in and they've had diarrhea for a month, then obviously their gut is going to be really inflamed. Many more things might show up than if we actually did some healing on the gut and then got them back in and started to do the testing for the foods. Yeah. So,
Well, that's all starting to stress me out. There can be more things wrong with you than you take into account.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you start thinking, you have a bit of a rumble in your stomach, and think, is there a war going on?
It is a bit like that, yeah.
Would you like to have a little break?
That sounds like a good plan.
Because we might listen to Sonia Data, and like a lot of people, they don't treat their body good anymore. So you don't treat them good no more. Oh, I've gone to sleep.